Story of Seasons Trio of Towns, a game that barely nobody speaks of since any farming simulator these days is just considered a knockoff of Stardew Valley. I mean, technically Stardew Valley did come out first, but who cares? Story of Seasons Trio of Towns released on June 23, 2016 in Japan, but later was released in America in 2017, and that same year it was also released in other countries. In this game, you can either play as the female or main protagonist, Holly and Henry. And just a small warning before I start, the main storyline for this game is a little, well, there's been better. The main plot for this game is that you, the player, has always wanted to become a farmer, but your father, well, he's kind of an ass, and he doesn't care about your hopes and dreams, but he still lets you move out and hopes to watch you fail to prove he was right that your dreams were absolutely useless. You move out to your Uncle Frank's farm in a town called Westtown, and he teaches you all the things you need to know. As you improve and succeed as a farmer, your mother and sister get happier and more supportive, while your dad, he just becomes more of an ass. You eventually unlock the two other towns, hence the trio, and you help all the towns grow by giving them more stuff than you'll probably have yourself or have ever owned in your whole life. However, regardless of you no longer living with your father, and being able to live freely to actually farm and play the game in a nice manner, the game still wants you to prove that you're worth something to your father by providing you 3 lists of quote-unquote farming tips that were made by your father himself, claiming that if you can't do any of these things, you were no farmer to him. We love that. We love a father who is unsupportive. I personally think the main plot kinda sucks. Like, what do you mean my dad doesn't support me or my childhood dreams? Like, isn't that your job as a parent? He's an evil dad, evil father. When I beat the main story, I wanted to kick his ass so hard. But of course, this game having to be nice and PG, it had me put up with all the harsh letters and I couldn't do anything about it. Whatever, I guess. The plot just kinda gets dumber as the game progresses. Spoiler warning, but Mr. D, some weirdo in a night costume that you had to beat in a festival as a challenge on your farming tips, was actually your dad the whole time. And the game used his past as a guilt trip to try to make you not upset about him being a nuisance and unsupportive father throughout the whole game. I'm not buying it, Pops. Not at all. And of course, I'm not here to diss the game. Like every other farming sim player, we're not here for the main plot. We're here for the men and the women. And on that topic, there are many bachelors and bachelorettes in the game that you can grow relationships with, both in a platonic and romantic way if you choose. In Westtown, there are 2 bachelors and 1 bachelorette, but since there are quite a small handful with their own personalities and stories, let's just simplify them each. In Westtown, we have quote-unquote twink doctor with no understanding of human motions, yet is a doctor, cowboy lover with girls that crawl up his ass, and innocent submissive flower girl. Yet, the submissive flower girl is actually one of the sweetest characters I've ever seen in a farming game. I love you, Lisette. I love you. In Lulu Coco, we have Twin 1, who is everybody's basic stubborn girl with a soft side, and her counterpart sister. That's literally just the soft side. And then there's Ludus, carpenter, and grandma's boy. And also, apparently looks like a Gacha Life character, according to one of my friends. In Suyakuza, we have a bubbly waitress with a heart of gold, angsty quiet school teacher who's the bubbly waitress's best friend, theater kid, and Yuzuki. I have nothing for Yuzuki. I like him, but there's nothing to point out other than the fact that he has an illness and it makes his body weak. But who would make fun of something like that? Not me! There's also Inari, which Inari is certainly something. To put it simply, each town has a goddess/guardian that protects the town, and each year they are celebrated with a festival. Not if it was obvious, but you are the only one who can see all 3 of them and interact with them. You can date and marry Inari regardless of your character's gender. If you choose to play as a female, Inari will be considered as a bachelor. If male, Inari becomes a bachelorette. However, it takes a lot more work to do this, and once you marry Inari, they won't live with you at your house, and you won't be able to do much since they're stuck at the shrine that they stay in Suyakusa. Thankfully for me, I didn't bother to marry Inari, nor will I ever, because I think I'd like my spouse to live with me. I don't think I'd like to spend the rest of my life with a partner who won't even stay at my house, and also is a furry-ish. I don't know, it's just not my taste. Not dissing anybody who likes Inari, I just don't really care. There's also an additional bachelor and bachelorette that you can get in a DLC, which would be Wolfio, the animal festival judge, and Stephanie, who is the MC and announcer for all other festivals. With Wolfio, you can find him in Lulu Coco after getting the DLC, which is where you'll be able to interact with him. Wolfio has a lot of events like all other characters, and you can also have children with him. I'm not sure if he ends up living with you permanently afterwards, but personally, I don't think it matters. I'm not dating the dog. With Stephanie, it's pretty much the same thing, except you'll find her in West Town than Lulu Coco. I personally don't own the DLC yet, so none of the components of it really mattered to me. I started playing Trio Towns a few years ago, and in my first file I married Ford, Twink Doctor, and in my second I married Ludus. With my first file, I cared more about marrying Ford than actually playing the game properly, since he was my introduction to the game, so I ended up just grinding the heck out of it, and within a week I married him. Now I'm incredibly behind on that file, and I haven't barely gotten any achievements, and I haven't completed the main story. I have the intention of possibly restarting that file and marrying Ford again, but actually trying to get through the game at a slow pace as well. With my second file, I went through the game's main story while also romancing Ludus, and I'm almost finished the whole game with that file, and I have no intention of messing with it. I have another 3DS that I recently just got, and I may try to play Trio of Towns on it again, but I have absolutely no idea who I'll marry. The only thing I know for sure is that I want to make a male protagonist file to romance Lisette, since she is my favorite bachelorette. But yeah, that's pretty much Story of Seasons Trio Towns. A fun game where you get to farm, raise livestock, participate in events and festivals, boost your connections with all 3 towns, and grow relationships with the characters. Maybe the plot is a bit something, but there are many key components that make this game amazing. Like Ford. I love Ford. Just play the game for Ford! We all love Ford! It's Ford, guys! It's Ford!